flag, an amulet, an illustration from a manuscript, a burial jar, a piece of bone. More than just objects in a museum or a history book, these speak to us today perhaps more urgently than in times of their creation. In this season, Dayaw explores the objects and manuscripts that form a puzzle. One that challenges our own conceptions of who we are and what our purpose as a nation is. All are vital clues in our continuing search for our knowledge, our pride. In 2021, the world celebrates the circumnavigation of the world by Ferdinand Magellan. In the Philippines, the celebration has prompted a look back at our pre-colonial heritage. In December 2019, the National Historical Commission mounted a mammoth production entitled Ngayon, the World of Our Ancestors. More than just a lavish spectacle, the production asked some very serious questions. Who were our ancestors before the colonizers came? What were they like? What was life like in these islands before the circumnavigation of the world brought the Spanish colonizers, and with them the imposed geographical definitions of a country, a nation? When we think of symbols of nation, we look to our flag, our constitution, our heroes. Rightly so, as these symbols evolved when the idea of the Philippines as one country came about. Maybe it is time for us to look even further back, to our prehistory, to the relics and images and texts that point to a past that we are only starting to appreciate. In these last 2 episodes of Season 9 of Dayaw, we do just that. Sift through our pre-colonial past to discover the treasure trove of symbols, all that may yet give us clues as to who we are and the journey we have been on. In 2019, a startling archaeological discovery was announced by archaeologist Arman Mijares of the University of the Philippines. Excavations that he had begun in 2003 in the Callao Cave in Cagayan yielded a 25,000-year-old evidence of human activity. Would have left it at that if not for an important discovery made in the Indonesian island of Flores. This was Homo floresensis, a small archaic form of hominin that dated back 50,000 years ago. A hominin is an archaic form of human antedating Homo sapiens. The discovery of the Indonesian hominid excited Mijares, and he returned to the Callao Caves in 2007 to continue the excavations.
We were able to present to the world a new species of Homo. No? So it was called Homo luzonensis. No? It's our first species of hominid found in the Philippines besides Homo sapiens. No? So we belong to the Homo sapien species. No? And this actually created a ripple around the world, no? Because one, it's a new species, and very, very few people can be able to identify a new species. No? And we have the opportunity to do that. No?
The team's excavations went deeper and yielded a nearly complete foot bone that looked human. In 2010, Mijares and his colleagues unveiled the fossil, At 67,000 years old, it was older than the Indonesian hominid. Subsequent excavations in 2011 and 15 yielded more bones along with 7 teeth and 2 finger bones. All in all, these represented the remains of 3 individual hominins.
It also highlights our region, Southeast Asia, because now we don't just have 2 species. Before it was very simple, no? You have Homo erectus in Indonesia and Homo sapiens in the Philippines, like a Tabon man, no? But now it's more complicated than that, no? Now we have another small-bodied creature, but different from Homo floresiensis, found only so far in Luzon. Normally, Homo sapiens, like us, no, we have small premolars and very, very large molar. The first molar, and then it goes smaller. This one, you see the premolars as almost the same size as the molar. The only creature that has the same correlation are Paranthropus in Africa. But Paranthropus have very, very large teeth. And another major feature that we have is this foot bone. It's a phalanx. It has, again, a very archaic feature. It has a very curvature plantar surface. So that's why we say that this combination of features warrant it to be a new species.
Many scientists the world over hold these bones up as new, previously unknown species of hominin, Homo luzonensis. At 67,000 years old, this hominin is much older than the Tabon man discovered by Robert Fox in 1962. Long thought to be the oldest remains in the country, Tabon man is estimated to be 47,000 years old, young when compared to the 67,000-year-old hominin.
We were forced to do one technique. It's called uranium series. Uranium, when a bone is buried, it absorbs uranium from the ground. And that's actually what you count, the absorption of uranium.
The discovery of Homo luzonensis has raised more questions about the evolution of man in the Philippines.
Homo luzonensis is not our direct ancestors. We did not evolve from Homo luzonensis to Homo sapien. It's a side branch, it's a cousin. But it evolved in Luzon, but it also died out. So if you look at the branches, there will be a lot of side branches. And that's what's peculiar right now with Southeast Asia, particularly the islands, is now the focus of the debate, because the islands are creating more species. I cannot say that Homo luzonensis is our ancestor, but it just shows that there are a lot of things we don't know in the Philippines. No? We're developing new technology, yet we have very little knowledge of our past. And that's something I think we should be able to also nourish, our heritage, our deep time knowledge of our ancestry. That's really very important to really develop in nationhood. You have to be rooted in the past.
Is it a yes or a no?
Are you anti or pro?
Pagdating sa mga isyung panlipunan, stay woke or go broke?
Basta relevant, napapanahon at makabuluhan para sa kabataan.
Pag-usapan natin yan sa
Schoolmates, the country's longest-running youth forum and debate show on TV.
Join ka na sa masayang usapan every Thursday dito lang sa PTV.
Another recent archaeological discovery, even older than Homo luzonensis, prompts important questions. A rugged yet awe-inspiring landscape. Mountain ranges, valleys, and jungles that the inhabitants of this land have cultivated and fought for. The landscape of Kalinga is both beautiful and daunting. Here in Kalinga, in the area of Rizal, in 2014, archaeologists unearthed the remains of a rhinoceros. Similar remains had been discovered in the past in the Cagayan Valley, but this was different. Another scientific study, the bones were revealed to be an astounding 709,000 years old. Older than the Homo luzonensis remains discovered in the Callao cave. The rhinoceros bones also revealed cut marks, meaning that this huge animal had been butchered. Archaeologists Thomas Injico and Marian Reyes of the National Museum led the excavations that discovered the rhino remains. Here, together with researcher Mylene Lissing, they talk about the discovery and the far-reaching implications of human evolution in the Philippines.
This site has been of interest to archaeologists and other specialists since the 1930s. So they found a rhino jaw in 1935 by Wilson. So locals here saw the rhino jaw, and then a year after they returned to hopefully retrieve the material, but they were not successful. So several surveys ensued after that. So through the assistance of Henry Otley Bayer, who was part of the National Museum then, contacts were made, and then the materials were brought to the NM office in Manila.
The most interesting findings so far, it's an almost complete skeleton of a rhinoceros. It is important for us, first because that's an extinct species, and as we found along what we were looking for, meaning stone tools, therefore we know that human was contemporaneous to this rhinoceros. It's also very important discovery because it's an almost complete skeleton, and that is quite rare for this kind of period. And because it's almost complete, we know that the layer is intact. It didn't move as soon as the rhino has been buried there. Also interesting are all the marks we found on the surface of the bones. These are butchery marks. You have chopping marks, cutting marks, and clearly this proves that those hominids were butchering the rhino, and this rhino has been directly dated to 700,000 years, and this is a huge jump in the back in the past compared to what was known before for the prehistory of the Philippines. We didn't find any human remains here so far, but if you look at what is known by the same time elsewhere in Southeast Asia, you can expect clearly a different species from our own. Our own species is Homo sapiens, and 700,000 years ago in Indonesia, in China, and in Flores Island, you have other species like Homo erectus, or Homo floresiensis, that are living there, and maybe these are some of the species we could find in here. How did these humans arrive here? Most likely they were following the fauna. The hominids, the humans, clearly could not reach the Philippines by that way. So it's either they intentionally reached the Philippines by building some sort of watercraft, but this is not the hypothesis we favor so far. We consider that only Homo sapiens is capable of taking the sea, and archaeological findings elsewhere around the world tend to prove that only Homo sapiens was capable of doing so. Interesting by itself, but we already knew just by finding on the surface that this was old. What was interesting is, in fact, when we started to find this tooth that was in the top right corner of the square we were excavating, we decided to extend this square, and that's where we found the first stone tool. So that's the time that we found association between the two, and in fact it proved that our theory at first when we came in here was true, that hominins were living by the same time rhino was roaming in the Philippines, and that was of course quite a reward, even more that in the scientific community this hypothesis was challenged before we came. So we proved it first for ourselves but also for the community, and that was quite an interesting reward.
And the excitement continues even outside the site, because when you bring the bones to the lab and you examine them under the microscope and you start seeing the cut marks made by the stone tools, then that's another level of excitement, because you have yet another evidence of human presence.
The recent archaeological discoveries have put the Philippines in the forefront of the studies on human evolution. I hope many aspects of our culture and history will also contribute to the international scientific community's discussions. Humanity's story has been written with tools and inventions. From prehistory, we take a leap into one aspect of our pre-colonial life that has affected the course of travel and immigration, the Balanghai. The Balanghai boats of Butuan tell a fascinating story of migration and trade across the seas. Declared national treasures in 1987 by President Corazon Aquino, 11 of these boats have been discovered and excavated, all along a natural delta formed by the Agusan River.
A group of treasure hunter here were formed. They were looking for ceramics, and accidentally they discovered the oldest Balanghai boat, which is presently exhibited in the Balanghai Shrine Museum.
In the Balanghai Museum in Butuan, 4 of the excavated boats are on display. 3 are still located in the original site, while 1 was destroyed by looters and treasure hunters upon its discovery. Understanding of the movement of waters and currents was crucial to building these Balanghai. It is a knowledge that has not become outmoded, but honed to perfection by native boat builders through the centuries. The Filipino skill in boat building is not a thing of the past. The journey of Art Valdez proves that the knowledge of boat building is not only ancient, but timeless.
This is a replica of an ancient boat, and it simply symbolizes the thousands of years relationship that we have with the countries around Southeast Asia and the Middle Kingdom, which is China. Yeah, these great bodies of waters serve as a mode of transport and communication and trade. And these great bodies of waters unified the people of Southeast Asia and China. It never divided them. And that is really the purpose of this voyage.
Building and voyaging on a Balanghai is a community effort. The journey shared with kindred spirits was not only a source of adventure for the crew, but deep personal insight as well.
The purpose of this Balanghai is to stir up and restore back that maritime consciousness. What more challenges and what more emphasis than ride on an ancient boat and then sail it the way it was. Because seafaring is in our DNA.
din sa Cagayan de Oro that we are hosting a big basketball event among the youth.
Representing our country, representing their cities as the best basketball players that they can be.
Kita-kits og himuon nato nga makasaysayon kini para sa atong komunidad.
Began the episode with the discovery of a hominin. We end with a dance form that echoes the natural world. A pre-colonial vestige that shows us how Filipinos have lived so closely with and for the environment. How we've gently flowed with nature, allowing it to shape our lives and our responses to the challenges of survival and our artistic expression. One that has been studied, preserved, and taught by Ramon Magsaysay awardee Ligaya Amilbangsa.
In 1969, I attended a big wedding in Holosulu, and I saw this lady, this young woman, dancing pangalay. I was really surprised because the way she danced, what we call pangalay in Manila, is so different. It is so sinuous. What is this? Very elegant. When I was invited to teach the Sulu College of Technology and Oceanography in 1972, I was able to study pangalay talagang in-depth. I said, I have to learn this dance. Because I told my husband, in 50 years, if I don't learn this dance and document it, it will be lost. 10 years of studying it so that I can learn it. How do you call that? Proprioception. So that it can be memorized by my muscles. So I can perform it well enough that I can teach it. Learn from the natives themselves because there's no formal method of instruction. Wala. I was the one who developed the formal method of instruction after so many years of studying, of learning, gaining mastery of the dance form. Even the exercises, I devised all of these exercises that only pertains to those parts of the body that are really used, called upon, the muscles are called upon for the body to be able to perform pangalay very well. I had to deconstruct the dance, and then I discovered the levels and directions of the hands, the arms, because it's almost always about gestures more than footwork. I can safely say today that it takes about 3 years to produce a good enough dancer, because then you master the exercises and then the basic postures and gestures of the pangalay.
images may seem disconnected, as images from the past often are a bone, a stone tool, a boat, a movement. But it only takes our own imagination to piece together the invisible connections to try and write a personal meaning into these fragments of the past. We are an ancient race. We have created a wealth of indigenous technology. We were once so integrated with the natural world that all self-expression drew from our experience of nature. And this is only the beginning of the discovery. In the next and final episode of Dayaw Season 9, we will continue our exploration of the pre-colonial. I hope that these stories have piqued your interest to learn more about the Philippines before colonization. This is Lauren Legarda, and I believe that our pre-colonial past is the truest and purest source of Dayaw, our knowledge, our pride.